Last October, my friends and I went to Scream Acres in Napoleon, Ohio. It's a haunted corn maze infested with monsters and ghouls. Don't get caught. You will become a zombie in the corn. I was with my friends Bill, John, and Sam. We had been going together for years to haunted houses and scary attractions around Ohio every October. While standing in line waiting to enter the maze, we overheard some guys saying how, last year, some kid was hurt by one of the actors when running through the maze. We joined in on the conversation to get more details, and they really didn't know. Still, it was rumored that one of the costumed actors actually frightened the kid so badly that he passed out and had to have an ambulance come and take him away. It added to our suspense, and our nerves were heightened alert. The costumed actors could go beyond the typical jump out and growl to scare us. As we entered the maze, it was average. We were twisting about, wondering about the paths, and a monster would be around a blind corner. Speakers were blasting ghostly sound effects and horror music while strobe lights disoriented your perception of direction. The trail was well made, with Halloween props every few feet. At one point, we came to a signpost. The top sign pointed to the left, reading "This way to safety," and the bottom sign had an arrow pointing to the right reading "Danger, stay away." Sam said he was ready to leave and said, "Let's go right," the sign that pointed to safety. But John said, "That's just a ruse, Sam. It's probably just the opposite." Sam suggested that we split up. 2 go to the right towards danger and 2 go left to safety. I left with Sam, and as expected, it was the opposite. As we came to a turn, we encountered a man dressed entirely in black with a baklava pulled over his head. The mouth hole was stitched closed with glow in the dark yarn. He didn't make a sound. He bowed low, kneeling on one knee and raising a pumpkin as an offering to us. He motioned silently for us to take the pumpkin. We were laughing and began to slide past him on the trail. Without looking up, the black-cloaked man says in a deep and raspy voice, very low as almost a whisper,
"Take the pumpkin."
It wasn't a request, it was a demand. We laughed harder and continued to squeeze past him. But he rose up and blocked our way, repeating his demand,
"Take the pumpkin."
his tone much angrier and malevolent.
"Take the pumpkin or I'll kill you where you stand."
We didn't take the threat seriously as we were in a haunted corn maze. Things like that are expected. But I did comply with his demand and took the pumpkin from his hands. He continued his vow, backed into the corn, and disappeared into the dark. We followed the trail, twisting and turning until we met John and Bill, where the 2 paths merged. They both laughed, seeing me holding a pumpkin, and asked how I got it. I said a ghost gave it to me. What should I do with it? Everyone nodded and said, "Take it home." So I continued to carry it until we finished the attraction. The rest of the way was standard haunted trail stuff again, and the actors had everyone screaming by the time we completed the maze. When we exited, a staff person approached me and asked where I got the pumpkin. I told him the ghost on the trail to safety insisted that I take it. It was the first time I saw the pumpkin in lamplights, and I noticed it was carved and the top was removable. The 4 of us and the staff member lifted the lid and looked inside, not knowing what to expect. At first, I said it seemed like some kind of candy and reached in and brought out a human finger. It looked genuine, but the blood was drained out. We all looked inside again, and there looked like another 9 fingers were inside. We all said, "So gross." The staff member said this isn't one of our props, snatched the pumpkin from my hands and said, "I've got to call the police." He disappeared into the crowd, and we were just standing there transfixed. Was this a prank by the park, or was this real? When we left the haunted maze, there was a police cruiser with its lights flashing near the entrance. Was it here for the pumpkin with the severed fingers? We have yet to find out. What is it with clowns? Coulrophobia is real, and the fear of clowns has a solid basis. I am here to confirm that with my own true story. I am from Kenosha, Wisconsin, and this story took place towards the end of October, just before Halloween. It's that perfect time of year, especially in the upper Midwest. The leaves have turned, and the weather is starting to get cooler. The winds off Lake Michigan are gusty, and the scent in the air differs from the rest of the year. That musty, earthy smell is intoxicating and lets you know that winter is coming. It's most evident at dusk, just before the dark of night. It adds an ambiance of mystery and gives a feeling of eeriness that intrigues the senses. I find it energizing, which is perhaps why I like running at that time of day in the fall. My neighborhood embraces a beautiful park with a stream that meanders gently and a pond with a stone bridge to watch the ducks. Walking paths edge the stream and pond and go through the gardens and trees, where lovers are often seen proposing to their sweethearts on resting benches. It's a great park to run in. Technically, it is only open from sunrise to sunset, but it doesn't seem to be a hard and fast rule. I have often gone after dark, and often I have seen others there too. But this night was too dark, I guess, or getting too cold. But for whatever reason, the park was empty of people, or so I thought. As I approached one bend, I saw a figure ahead in the shadows under a walking bridge. Because of the terrain and bushes, I had to pass under the bridge to the other side to continue my run. Since I'm a petite, skinny girl, I cautiously approached and called, "Who is it there?" No answer was given, so I slowed my pace to a walk. I still moved forward, thinking the person just didn't hear me because there was a small waterfall just before the bridge that probably deadened my voice. As I approached, I reached into my jacket pocket and retrieved my half-ounce pink keychain pepper spray. It's not a lot, but it has a range of 10 feet, and if I needed something to give me an advantage, I'd use it. At about 12 feet, a man stepped out of the shadow dressed in a hideous clown mask. I froze as we stared at each other in dreadful silence. I mustered up as much courage as possible and, in as deep a voice as I could manage, said, "Dude, you seriously scared me. Could you step aside so that I may pass?" He took a step closer and blocked the path even more. I spoke a little louder, trying desperately not to show any fear. As if some wild dog stood before me, I said, "Move it." He started with a deep, low laugh and boiled over into an evil cacophony of curse words that poured from his mouth like vomit. He lurched forward at that moment, grabbing me around the neck. As his fingers pressed into my windpipe, I felt the air leave my lungs. Darkness was descending on me, and I felt my legs go weak. I don't know how I managed to point the mace into the eye hole of his mask, but it made its mark. I had just enough energy to knee him in the groin as I fell to the ground, gagging for air. The clown was doubled over, holding his head. I swiftly kicked him in his kneecap and bolted past him to escape running nonstop home. The clown undoubtedly had very evil intent, and I'm probably lucky I'm alive. What is the best way to have excitement in the fall? You'd be right on track if you said go to a haunted prison, but you may never be the same after. I live in Morgantown, West Virginia, and the old West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundville is pretty close, about an hour-and-a-half highway drive. It's an all-evening adventure, and for a carload of high schoolers, it sounded like a blast. The Moundsville Penitentiary is known to be haunted. The penitentiary has 2 weekend tours in October. The Dungeon of Horrors is a staged haunted house. The North Walk is a guided paranormal walk through the penitentiary's oldest and most haunted area. This isn't a staged event. It isn't an attraction. It is a tour by flashlight through what was once considered one of the cruelest institutions in the nation. The North Walk is known for high paranormal activity. This was the block where murders of the most violent and brutal nature were housed. Fights, murder, and every conceivable evil occurred on this block for over 100 years. The most dangerous inmates were housed under maximum security. Many were criminally insane with no souls. But the penitentiary has one step above this in October called Thriller Thursday, and this was the tour we planned to take. It is 3 hours of actual paranormal activity. 15 years of age or older, no exceptions to get in. It can be such a terrifying night with only a flashlight that they make you sign a waiver to enter. Everyone in our group was 17. We thought we could handle anything. We arrived before 9 p.m. with our flashlights and prepared to enter the dark cell block North Walk. After the 90-minute guided tour, we were free to roam the cells and explore, seeking paranormal activity. And this is when it happened. The place was as creepy as anything you can imagine, and your head was filled with the true stories recounted by the guide. It is unnerving, and you can't believe the sounds you hear and the unexplained cold breaths of air that pass over you. I've never believed in ghosts or the paranormal, but after this night, I was convinced they exist. It wasn't just the eeriness and the impending feeling of doom. Something happened that I cannot explain. My friends and I had gone down a flight of steel stairs to a lower level, and the door behind me slammed shut. I looked up the stairs, and my friends, who were moments before by my side, were gone. I ran up the stair and looked around, but they were nowhere. I couldn't believe what was happening. I could not find them. I even called out their names, but only silence returned. I called Johnny on my cell phone, and he picked up immediately, saying, "Where the heck did you go? We've been waiting for you for 15 minutes. What do you mean?" I questioned. "You were right behind me just a minute ago. We had just descended the stairs to the lower cells and you disappeared." "No, man," said Johnny. "You disappeared, and it has been over 15 minutes. I'm really freaking out at that. I need clarification and still need to figure out where I am and where they are." I wandered the dark corridor with my flashlight and found another flight of steel stairs leading up. I took them, and my friends stood in bewilderment at the top. On the way home, we could not explain my disappearance and the lost time I experienced. It is as if I had fallen into a different realm. It was as natural as sitting here now telling you this story. I'll never be the same as this night haunts me forever.